Hey everybody, it's Christina from Creations with Christina and welcome back to my YouTube channel and blog. Before we get started, if you like today's video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and hit the notification bell so you can be notified when I post new videos every Tuesday and Friday. Let's get started with today's card. I am using SugarPea's Designs Bewitched stamp set, and I'm stamping out my images onto some 80-pound Nina cardstock using Memento Tuxedo black ink onto my MISTI. I'm using the cute little girl that's holding the Halloween banner as well as the pumpkin and the kitty cat from this stamp set. And I did go ahead and stamp it out twice because my Memento ink is running dry. So that's the great thing about the mini MISTI is that you can use this to stamp out, especially if you know that your inks are starting to run dry. I'm going to color in my stamped images with the Nuvo Creative pens. They're an alcohol-based marker. I did do a product review on this in my previous video, which I will link down below. And I know not everybody likes to watch coloring portions of card videos, so you can skip ahead to 2 minutes and 58 seconds, and that will take you into the rest of this card. But in the meantime, for the skin tone, I used two markers, 472 from the Fair Skin set and 473 from the Cookies and Cream Cookies and Cream set. And then I also used Apricot, which is 387 from the Apricot Ombre set. For the hair color, I also used the Cookies and Cream set. For this one, I used all three pens from the set, starting off with the lightest color, which is 472, and then going into my second to lightest color, which is 478, and then coming in with my darkest color, which is 464. The Cookies and Cream set is probably my favorite pen set for coloring and hair colors with these markers. I did find that the lighter the touch in the smallest areas, the better I was able to fill in and not have the color bleed out from the stamped image. So the lighter touch really definitely is better, especially for all these smaller sections, and especially when I get into the purple part, which is on her dress. I will leave I am going to post the colors that I'm using here on the screen so you can see those. And I will also leave links to the supplies that I'm using for this card down in the YouTube description. For her dress, I used the Royal Purple marker set, which is 473, is the lightest color. And then I went in the second to darkest color, which is 439, and then blended it with the darkest color, 441, and then blended that all out again using the lightest color. For her little boots, I used the markers from the Stormy Sky pen set, and then I also used the Fragrant Orange markers to do my little pumpkin, as well as some various other colors. And then for my little kitty, I'm using Soft Taupe from the Peddler's Beach. We're going to start putting our card together. I'm starting out with Bristol Smooth cardstock with MOWED Lawn Distress Oxide ink using the Simon Says Stamp Grassy Edges stencil. And I will tell you, this is the second time I did this card. The first time I did this card, I did it with regular Nina cardstock, and I'm really surprised in the difference in the way the colors take to the paper. The way I set the stencil up, I wanted it to be a little higher up on the card, and I had that little kind of gap between where the stencil was in the bottom of my card, and I kind of filled that in. As you can see, it almost took away that line completely. So I'm going to use my MOWED Lawn ink and blend out some more, and by the time I'm done, you're not going to see that I had any kind of line there. And I'm going to bring my stencil back in just to kind of get closer up to the edge. I'm going to create yet another line when I do this, but it blends out beautifully on the Bristol Smooth cardstock. When I first did this, I did it on my first attempt at this card, I did it on Nina cardstock, and even the color was completely different. So I really like Bristol cardstock for using our Distress Oxide inks. I'm using my Simon Says Stamp Stencil. Try to say that 3 times fast. Simon Says Stamp Stencil. Oh, I won't try it. But it's the Cloudy for Days stencil that I'm using with Tumbled Glass Distress Oxide ink to create a really soft background of clouds in the back part of this mounted piece. I'm also taking some Nina 110-pound cardstock that I'm using as my card base. It's cut at 4 1/4 by 11 and then scored at 5 1/2. And I'm just using the same stencil to create a really soft background here as well, because I'm going to be die cutting a circle into my other matte piece. And I'm just making sure to stay in the center of my card and not going off into the sides where it's going to show later on when I mount this piece. I'm using my all-time favorite die, which is the Stitched Rectangle die set from Simon Says Stamp. I'm not even sure if this die set is still available, but if it is, I will link it down below. I absolutely love this die set because you get a stitched edge on both the inside of the die and the outside of the die cut piece. I'm going to use my new Lawn Fawn reversed stitch die. Creates a cute little stitch circle on the outside, but also then puts a scalloped edge on the inside. Really love that look. Once I have this die cut, I'm going to go ahead and die cut all of my images that I colored in earlier. I'm using the coordinating die set from the SugarPea Designs Bewitched stamp set. This is the coordinating die, and I'm just using some of my 3M Post-it tape to go ahead and put those down. Even though I have my magnetic platform, it seemed like the dies were kind of resisting the magnet. So now that I have that cut, I'm going to go ahead and start putting my card together. I just love how these images came out, and I really love how they pop off the card. So I'm bringing in my card base where I put that stencil of the Clouds for Days stencil, and then I have my matte piece where I die cut. And before we put our card together, I do need to go ahead and stamp my image. My image is just the cute little saying from this, which way is the candy? And I love that. It's just a cute sentiment. I had gone back and forth on whether I wanted to stamp this directly onto that mat or if I wanted to create like a little flag end. I'm glad I went with the stamping it directly onto that mat because I think maybe the flag might have been a little bit too much for that, but I did go ahead and stamp that using my Memento Tuxedo black ink, and I did once again double stamp this because, like I said, my Memento is getting a little dry, so it's time to maybe start looking at some other inks and coming up with the different inks that I can use with alcohol ink markers. I'm going to go ahead and mount this onto my card base. I'm using some 3M foam tape, and I'm going to mount this right into the center of my card front. And then you can see through that little window, you can see those little clouds peeking through, and it just gave a nice little dimension to my card. I'm going to use Nuvo glue. I absolutely love this glue, and I did put the glue on the back side, but I did tuck my girl so her feet were underneath the scallop, but her arm and the little spider that's hanging off of her banner is coming outside of the circle. I'm also adding the little pumpkin that I'm tucking behind the scallop and then putting her little kitty down on the front part of her card. So that is our card for today. I will leave a link to the supplies that I used to make this card down in the YouTube description, and here are some photos of our finished card. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you're new to my channel, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time we post new videos on Tuesdays and Fridays. Thanks everybody for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Bye!